Hello, everyone. My name is Kabelo Mohale, and welcome to Be Connect, a conversation series that is designed to help you and I build a life of love, wellness, abundance, and impact one brick at a time. I'm especially excited about today's episode. I have a lady who has become a sister of mine. She is a mom. She is a businesswoman. She's a daughter. She's a minister. We have Sethu Gumede. I'm sure many of you might know her from Awakened, but we're going to chat about that later. Sethu, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I am incredibly excited to have a conversation with you. It's about time. How are you doing?
It's been forever. I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am good. I'm good.
Sure.
No. Kishone. You know when you're in work mode. When
Yeah,
you're in work
I
mode,
got you.
I'm good. I think I'm good. I am learning to surrender. I'm really learning to surrender to God's pull. I'm learning to surrender in the process of God building deep capacity in me. It can get messy. We all know that process gets messy.
Yeah.
But I'm allowing myself to surrender. So I'm good.
Surrender's hard.
I'm good.
Isn't it weird though that how the one thing that requires us to do absolutely nothing is always the hardest? Just letting go. Yeah. Because when you surrender,
Did
the
you
Lord
hear
is
that?
literally saying-
Wait. Did y'all hear that? Ladies, gents.
It's always the hardest because then you feel like you're giving in and you feel like you no longer have control. But I find that surrender, I think that's why also the Lord requires it so much of us, because he feels it's the greatest call and it's the easiest call to surrender, because you literally have to do nothing, but we find that the hardest.
Girl, you're coming from my edges.
But I know also what you're talking about.
You're coming from my edges.
Especially when you're a hardworking woman. I get that. And there's a perfectionist as well. I'm the same. Trust me. Now I know.
Why is the Lord doing this? He did this to me yesterday. Yesterday, I was literally, she was on me when it came to control. No, don't keep quiet.
Yeah.
She was literally speaking directly to my heart when she spoke about wanting to take control and wanting, or being the strong girl, when it's actually a safety mechanism.
You know how hard it is to be a strong girl? You know how hard it is to be a strong girl? I would much rather be a little girl that does nothing, which is what God wants us to be.
Absolutely.
Just be a little girl that does absolutely nothing.
Sure. Before we get into that, I'm going to ask you a few fire questions. Very easy questions. You can answer them however you want. What's your favorite dish?
Anything with cheese.
With cheese.
I will eat anything with cheese. Count me in.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay. A funny story that your mom loves to tell about you that you would like to share with us. Funny story.
I used to be obsessed with Coke, apparently. And I was this little chubby girl who always walked to... My aunt and my mom tell the story a lot because my aunt thinks it's the funniest. And every time she tells it, she does. And I'm just like, girl, it's not that funny.
It's not that funny.
And I used to love Coke. And so my granny had those fridges that you could lock.
Okay.
And so every now and again, I'm walking to the fridge, I'm opening the fridge, I'm like, they know what I want. And they pour me the Coke and whatever. And I'd go back. So my aunt decides, you know what, this girl,
Yeah.
so she locks the fridge.
Okay.
Right? And I walk there, my big fat booty, walk into the fridge, and I get there, and the
it's
fridge is
locked.
locked. And apparently, I gave them hell. Apparently, I was like, Chini tika, bana tika the fridge. And I'm this little. And every time my aunt will tell her friends, she will tell, I will bring a man over. And she'll be like, you know, and I'm just like, not that story, man.
Really?
Apparently, I gave them hell. Like, y'all gonna open this fridge.
Who introduced you
I'm
to
gonna
Coke
have this
to
Coke.
begin with?
I think my mom. Because my mom was also very much in love with it. And
Okay.
she's fighting that battle now in her 50s.
Are you delivered from it?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm not delivered from the sugar, though. I'm still
Okay.
very much obsessed
So
with
you have a
sugar.
sweet tooth.
Yo.
Okay.
No, sugar still has a hold on me.
Okay. And are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm right in the middle. I used to think I'm an
with you on that one.
extrovert. I used to think I'm an extrovert. And then I think with growth and the more you learn about yourself and the more inner work you do, you realize that I'm a bit of both
Okay.
because I flourish in enclosed spaces on my own, not having to interact. But then it also drives me nuts at some point. Like I need to go and interact and go be with people. So I think I'm right in the middle.
I'm actually the opposite. I refresh when I'm alone.
Yeah.
And my husband had to understand that at some point.
Yeah.
That when I say, babe, I just need to be alone, it's not rejection. It's just, I just need to be refreshed.
And he understands
And
that.
he understands because he's an extrovert. Like,
Okay.
Morale is an extrovert and I am an introvert.
Yeah.
But I do think once I get to know you, I am a little bit better.
You open up.
I open up.
It's beautiful that he actually gets that because for some people
They don't.
they don't.
And it causes, I can imagine it causing a lot of friction.
honey.
I'm sure it did in us
honey.
in the beginning.
It does.
It does. What does your morning routine look like?
It looks like a toddler kicking my face.
She's almost 2, hey?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like a toddler
get you.
kicking my face.
Uh-huh.
If I'm lucky and I'm up before her, because these days she's like up around 8. So if I'm lucky and I feel refreshed enough to get out of the bed at 6, it's a cup of coffee, definitely. First stop,
Coffee
brush
girl.
my teeth,
I
wash
like
my
that.
face. I have coffee. I love coffee. I just discovered this new one that I'm like, I want to buy every flavor of it. So yeah, coffee. And then I'll probably catch up on a sermon. I enjoy sitting and listening. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
So any situation where I sit and listen, like for now, my new thing is I will literally just go outside with my cup of coffee.
Okay.
And I just want to listen to the wind and the birds.
Sure, stillness.
If I don't have that, I'll watch a sermon. I'll play some worship music. I'm into R&B now, which is so weird.
I like that.
But I'm into R&B now, so I'll
And
play
who's your
like,
favorite artist?
right now it has to be Akila.
Okay.
There's a young lady called Akila. She's got a couple of songs that are actually great that I know about. But her recent song, Bloom, honey. I was playing it
Really?
on the
I'm
way
going to
here.
check it out.
I'm like, honey, you are speaking to my heart. And the thing is, it's all about love.
Okay.
And
Ah, go fitla mo. Go fitla mo, it's all about love. It's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If you were to write a book, what would it be about?
It's crazy that you asked me that because pretty much the title of my book is Good Pain.
Sure.
Yeah. Title of my book is Good Pain. The rest is sister when I could.
Sobonakona.
He gave me that name.
Sure.
Literally.
So we can expect a book coming.
Pretty much.
I won't say soon. We can just say we can expect.
not soon, guys. Even
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
a book is not.
Yeah.
it's not
God
writing an
gives
essay.
the timelines.
But yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Okay. And what type of friendship or what type of friend are you? I'm keen to know that.
I'm learning now that I am the stand in the back kind of friend. I don't know if that makes sense. I think it's also because of the way that I was raised.
Okay.
My mom was always, well, I would say both my parents are the type of people, they will give advice, they will show you love, but they stand back to let you do your thing.
I like that.
I'm learning that in my friendships, I'm like that. However, it does clash with a lot of friendship styles that I'm surrounded with because I have the kind of phrase, afraid you didn't call me and it's been a month. And for me, I'm the type of friend, you need to know whether we talk once in a month or we talk 4 times in a month or I see you every 3 months, that it does not change how much I love you. It does not change how much I would show up for you when you needed me. I'm that kind of a friend.
Okay.
I'm standing in the back and I watch you do your thing. Best believe though, we're not talking, but I know everything that's happening because I'm watching. I watch.
Okay, so you pay
So
attention.
I'm watching.
Cool.
I know what's happening at work. I'm paying attention. I know what's happening in your family. I'm paying attention, but I'm not in your face. And unfortunately, well, I guess it's a good thing for me because I'm starting to understand myself.
Okay.
And I'm not the type of person who's like, oh, this person never calls me anymore. Sibatala. There's that as well. And we're all dealing with families, we're dealing with work, we're dealing with this. So I'm the type of friend, and I'll randomly send you an I love you.
Okay.
I'll randomly send you. Actually, not the other day when the year started, I actually thought of you, but I was like, isn't she going to think that's weird? I thought of you. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to text her and be like, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're good. But then I was like, no, don't be weird.
It's not weird.
Don't be weird.
It's not weird.
But I'm that kind of a friend. And once I've thought about you, I will send that text. I'm very mushy. So I also kind of like keep that, I'm not in your face.
Okay.
With the mushiness and the
Do you think that you keep that mushiness to yourself as a sense of protecting yourself?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I think so, but also for me, it's probably something I also need to work on. It's the idea that not everyone wants all of that. Like, keep that to yourself, honey.
Get
Not
you.
everyone wants all of that. I look at my daughter even sometimes, and I have to kind of remind myself that, yeah, but this is also a person, she deserves space. Because I want to be in her face, and I want to kiss her, and I want to tell her I love her. And she's just like, girl, if you don't back off.
Especially now when they're turning two, like that sense of independence.
And she will tell you, can I get a kiss? And she's like, no.
Yeah, that's what Micah
And
says.
phone,
No.
and walks away. And I'm like, not even one. And she's like, no. And then when she wants one, she wants one.
Yeah.
And give me another one. And again. And I'm like, I'm going to give you 5 now because I don't know when I'm going to get this chance again. So I think I'm learning that, but also in the sense of protection, it's also, I think also protecting myself from making sure I'm not pouring into the wrong places.
Ooh.
Because
Ooh.
when you are someone that is very affectionate and very loving, you tend to pour that out even in the wrong spaces and to the wrong people. And unfortunately, when it comes back, it's a spit in your face. And then you're like, huh? I thought I'm doing the right thing, but only to find you're doing the right thing, but not in the right place. So I'm very... Yeah, my daughter right now is where I throw all of it in. I'm like, girl, you're my only outlet. Give me some love.
But I want you to know that there actually are people that God will position in your life who do want Sethu in full.
Yeah.
All of you. You
And
know?
you know what? I'm blessed with family that validate that.
Okay.
I'm
glad.
Yeah, I'm blessed with a family that validates that. I have my older sister, irks her. I annoy her because she's just like, why are you so soft? Not everyone likes you. And I think she's also being honest in the sense, Yoguti, you need to be a little bit harder in this world because my sister is a hard cracker. She's the type of person, she will take forever to open up to you, but when she does, you're like, oh, you're such a mushy person.
It
And
reminds
I'm in her
me of
face,
my older sister.
Yeah, like, and I irritate her.
Yeah.
I will get kisses out of her. She will hug me, whether she pushes me away or not. I will grab that. I'm like that.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, ugh, you irritate me. But I think with most of my family, they understand the kind of person that I am. They get me.
Yeah.
So I think I'm blessed with that. I used to think I needed it externally, and so I always ran and tried to find, because I'm thinking, these people are my family. They kind of have to give me that. Only to find that, like, I've been exposed to so many people who have families who do not receive even close to the type of love that I do.
Sure.
So I need to also look at that and be like, okay, these people are actually, they're doing me a favor.
Yeah,
Because they really don't have to, just because they're my family. Honestly, they don't have to. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I've seen that with your mom. I mean, she is very present, very supportive.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely beautiful. I know that Mohale had a question actually concerning mom. What was the question?
Oh, question was, but you have to touch on where you are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say where you are right now, your journey, what role has your relationship with mom played?
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we help you with healing or health?
Yeah.
Or just
I get you.
syndrome?
Okay.
Yeah. You can answer that.
I think with where I am now in my life, can I tell you something? Sethu Gumede would not be sitting here, I think, if it wasn't for my mom.
I knew we were supposed to get tissue. It's okay.
Y'all ain't right. Because the journey, or rather, let me say what I came from, I'm very much convinced that the agenda in her was that she's not supposed to get out.
Sure.
Very much convinced.
Sure.
But obviously didn't win. So my relationship with my mom in that sense is that, look, my mom will never, when my mom loves you, and because my mom has kids that are not her kids. That's just the kind of woman that she is. And you never have to doubt her love. I once read a quote that said, when you do something wrong, you shouldn't be thinking, oh my goodness, I can't tell my mom or I can't tell my parents. you should have the kind of relationship that says, oh my goodness, I have to tell my mom
Sure.
because she's the only one that can get me out of, no matter how messy it is.
Yeah.
And it's been messy.
Yeah.
But I do think, thank you.
I'm good.
But I do think that my relationship with my mom, had it not been for our relationship, I probably wouldn't still be sitting here. I literally always say that there was a team that was behind me coming out, and it was the Lord, it was my mom, and it was myself. We had to work, just 3 of us, because no one else would have gotten it. And I also feel, I did therapy way later. I think my daughter was almost a year when I just decided to go into therapy. But really, without the duo, my mom and the Lord, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's also spilled into, I think, how I parent.
Sure. Actually wanted to get to that.
It's spilled into as well how I parent. I want to build a bond with my daughter where she will always know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that she has me. Where she will always know, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how messy it looks, I don't care if you killed someone and your hands are filled with blood, you will have me. Do you understand?
Sure.
We're going to take you to the cops, honey. We're going to hand you in. But I'm going to be here every other week to see you. You've got your mom.
Sure.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to build with her now, because in a situation like mine, where I've literally had to find my feet as far as parenting is concerned, literally on my own. And yes, she's been there for me, but you can only do so much, because my journey with my daughter was mine with my daughter. You become so intentional about certain things, and I think that's one thing I've taken from her, to say, no matter how bad it is, no matter how ugly it is, girl, you could be in the worst situation of your life, but you need to know that you have your mom. 6 a.m. in the morning, when I walked out of my marriage, day I left, called my mom at 6 a.m. in the morning. I was like, I'm packing.
Sure.
Make a plan.
Yeah.
And she called my brother. My brother was there in 10 minutes. And I was out. So you need to know, because some people can't call their moms and that kind of thing. Moms are like, no, girl.
Stay.
No, girl.
Begazella.
No, you begazella. My mom was like, say less. She called my brother and he was at the gate in 10 minutes.
Sure.
Do you understand? So I want to build that with my daughter, that she needs to know that no matter what, she's got her mom.
Yeah. There's a question that it's a staple question here. And I think it means a lot, because when I was going through, there are parts of God that I got to witness. So, I believe, and I believe it because Holy Spirit showed it to me, that there are parts of God that you actually discover in the valley of the shadow of death. And I want to ask you, what did the valley of the shadow of death, or what does it look like? Are you in it? Did you go through it? And what was it for you?
Definitely went through it.
Yeah.
Definitely. I still find myself sometimes where I'm like, okay, I'm not inside, but I can feel there's a breeze that's similar to that breeze. I'm close. It looks like a whole lot of hopelessness. It looks like a whole lot of despair. I spent the whole of the past 2 years in that space.
And when you say space, you mean the space of hopelessness, despair.
The space of hope, where you literally do not see how you're going to get it out. How are you going to get out? Like, you do not see the other side.
Yeah.
And everyone is making sure that they let you know, no, there's the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, when?
When, yeah.
Because you're not even thinking of that possibility. Where you are, it's so dark and it feels so definite.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're stuck here. That's what the valley of the shadow of death feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like you're stuck here. And for me, I had to sit in it. And when I say sit in it, I was like, I wasn't like, this is, no, I'm chilling here. No. I had to sit in it. I remember once praying and the Lord was like, stop scrambling, sit still. Oof. And I'm like, but it's uncomfortable. He's like, sit still. Stop scrambling. Stop scrambling, because you're looking for anything to hold on to. Yeah. You're looking for anyone to hold on to. You want to speak to it. Help me.
Yeah.
That's
what can I do?
What can I do?
Yeah.
Because I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I was literally at the peak of my ministry. It's prayers every week. I'm on live every Thursday. My prayers are being swamped with views.
I remember, we saw
I
that.
I am obsessed with the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with ministry. You could not tell me anything. And then you get to a space where even that thing is shaken. And it's like, nah, it's that's it. Now I don't know. Because the one thing that I was sitting in that was so comfortable has now been rattled. And now you're scrambling and you're looking for, I want to hold on to anything. And I literally felt the Lord saying, right in that moment when I was in the valley, I felt him saying, stop scrambling. And I always tell this story because it's such a real story for me. And people think I'm just saying it. There was a night, I remember my daughter, there was a morning, my daughter was around 7 months. And that was like the peak of it. It's postpartum depression. It's pretty much the depression that's on its own. I think there was a depression on its own, then there was the postpartum.
I get you, girl. Trust.
There was the postpartum, and then there's this one. It's
Yeah,
anyone.
sure.
I know it's this little person. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that I'm also dealing with a separation
Yeah.
that is happening, and the other side of the separation, not making it any easier for me. And I remember laying in my bed that morning, it was around 6 a.m, and I woke up, had hardly slept. I actually have a video of this on my Instagram. I had hardly slept. I think I sobbed that whole night.
Sure.
Got a bit of sleep, woke up, and I was sure. I looked at my daughter, and I was sure, today's our last one. Today's our last day. Taking myself out
Yeah.
because I personally can't anymore.
Yeah.
And I know her growing up without a mom is not going to be great. So I'm helping her. She's going to go sit in heaven with the Lord. I'm doing it today. It's happening today.
Sure.
No, that morning I had decided. And I remember looking at my daughter and just sobbing. But it felt like in that moment, in the valley of the shadow of death, that makes so much sense.
Sure.
That's like, yeah. And it's the easiest way out because you've got forever to have to raise this person in this pain that you're in. And she has to deal with a mom that's unhappy. And then also, if you take yourself out alone and you leave her here, she has to deal with not having a mom.
Sure.
So do this little girl a favor, take her to heaven, to her maker, literally.
And take yourself.
And take yourself.
Sure. So
That
true.
sounds easy. And I remember getting up and I went to the kitchen and I remember breaking down in the kitchen. And outside my house is a very peaceful space. Like, it's very peaceful outside in the mornings. That's how I always go. It's funny because the very same place that I went to when I was ready to end it, I go there every day to fill myself up with life. It's crazy.
Sure.
But I remember I sat outside, flat on the floor on the pavement, where the cars usually park when they come in. And I remember crying to the Lord. And the prayer I made to him was that, take it. Take it.
Yeah.
Take it. And I remember once I felt him around me, and I felt that, he hears me, number one, because I could feel that he was there. He hears me. It's actually crazy. I want to tell you something in a bit. He hears me, and then I felt his warmth, and then immediately I got angry. Immediately.
I wanted to say that. You hear me. You're here.
Yeah.
Why are you not?
Yeah. But besides that now, I'm not mad at him.
Sure.
I'm mad at the enemy.
Sure.
That you got me to a point where you made me think that me not existing, because it benefits the camp of the enemy, me not existing.
Yeah.
Benefits the camp of the enemy, that little girl not living out her destiny. Benefits the enemy. You got me to a point where I'm doing something that will benefit your camp and forget about who I am. I got mad. I remember I got up from that pavement and I started telling the enemy who he actually is. And I started telling him who I am. And I think that's when I was slowly coming out of that very cold, hopelessness place where I actually have a video of that day. I have a video of the date of that morning when I remember I took a video of myself sobbing.
Yeah.
And I have this gold sheet that stains so easily. Like when there's water on it, you can tell the material. And it has like a crying thing. And I remember taking that video and I'm like, they're going to see this video and they're probably going to play it on my funeral. Like I wasn't even thinking about that at that point. I was just like, I'm out. Today we're out. And my furiousness with the enemy, which is something now I'm so happy about. The enemy knows.
Yeah.
I don't play that game with
Yeah.
him, and it's mostly because of that day.
Yeah.
You made
Sure.
me think that your plan was greater for me. You got me to a point where I forgot my creator, and your plan made more sense. That's crazy. Who are you? Like, I literally got
Sure.
mad. And I felt the warmth of the Lord, and it was literally him saying, I hear you, I see you. Last night, I had a very weird, I was talking to my mom. It's funny because God speaks. That's why I said, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
I was having a talk, I was telling Mahali, I was just like, yo, I think I'm going to cancel this thing tomorrow, because I'm just like, what am I going to get there and say, honey?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you feel like, no. And my daughter, she had a
I'm
cough.
glad you didn't cancel.
And I was also just like, no, man, it's not professional, and it's such a bad look.
Yeah.
But literally, my heart was like, you're going to get there, and no,
Sure.
you're not going
Yeah.
there. And my mom obviously spoke me out of it. And the
Thank you, Mom.
Lord, the Lord actually did a thing through my daughter yesterday, and I sobbed so hard. One thing about me, I will cry. So,
Me too, girl. Lillian. I even call my mom Lillian. Because we cry.
Yesterday, you know, when you're going through this, where you need some sort of a validation.
Yeah.
You need some sort of validation. My mom, she's great at that,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm just like, this one, I knew she was going to say this. Like, she's not hearing me. She's not, girl, you're going to kill her. I'm like, girl, go to bed, first of all. And I got in the room, my daughter was struggling to sleep. She sleeps pretty early. And yesterday, my past 8, when you actually text me last night, she was just falling asleep.
Okay.
And she said to me, so she loves doing peekaboo. And in the beginning, I used to do peekaboo, I see you. Peekaboo, I see you. But I realized she's not yet at the age where she realizes that I see you. So she
Okay.
just goes, peekaboo, peekaboo. So yesterday, we're playing on the bed, and she doesn't want to sleep. And randomly, she goes, peekaboo, I see you. Peekaboo, I see you. And when I tell you, that made me sob, because it was almost like the Lord saying,
I see you.
She's never said, I see you. I even stopped playing with her with the I see you, because I'm realizing, okay, it's not registering in. All she knows is peekaboo, peekaboo, peekaboo. So yesterday, as we're playing on the bed, I remember I'm sobbing, the room is dim, because I already white noisy. I'm like, this one. And she went, peekaboo, I see you. Peekaboo, I see you. I held that little girl and I sobbed. And I'm like, oh, Lord, thank you. Because it was almost like he was saying, I see you.
Sethu. I see you.
And I see that you're having a hard time. And I see that you think you might not be able to do it. But I see you. And I was like, okay, guess I'm not canceling.
This actually makes me so emotional.
Yeah.
I think Mohale and I have shared a bit on, you know, how hard.
Yeah.
I mean, our marriage was dangling on a thread.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the past 2 years was so difficult. And there's been so many moments where I realized how much of a gift. Yes, we've always known that Micah is a gift for us, right? But man, in those hard times, I promise you, that's when I realized just how much of a gift Micah was. It's almost as if God knew what we would go through, what was ahead. And it was intentional for Micah to be born when he was born. You know, yes, it brought a whole lot to the surface. Like, whoop, it brought a whole lot of things, issues to the surface that we needed to deal with. But that boy is such a gift. There were so many times when he would just randomly come to me. Mba, randomly come to me. Hug, randomly look. I would catch him staring at me with this smile on his face, and I knew that was God. You know, and so I realized how much of gifts these kids are. And it's almost as if God really brings them into our lives when he knows you're gonna...
Yeah.
We're not using them as a crutch. No.
Yeah.
They are gifts. They are an extension of God's heart for us because he knows what we would go through.
Literally.
So when you talk about, God.
Literally. There was a friend of my mom's. She's also one of the women that really spoke life into me, my lowest. And she has such a beautiful marriage with her husband. And I remember the one time she came to visit me, my daughter was still young at the time. She came to see me, she came to see the baby, and she's on a video call. The husband calls to check, did you make it there safely? Cutest couple. And these people are like in their 50s, and you would swear they met yesterday.
Yeah.
So the husband calls, are you guys safe, whatever? So I get on a video call with him, and he generally is never that deep. He's always a jokester. And he says, yeah, gives Sethu the phone and he greets me. And he's like, I want to tell you something. And he's chilling outside. So it's windy. And he's like, no, I'm going to go inside because I want you to hear me. He's like, that little girl didn't happen by mistake.
Sure.
I know right now it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But she had to come at the time that she came.
Sure.
The way that she came. And in the circumstances that she came with. From that father and you, the mother.
Yes.
It couldn't have happened any other way.
Any other way.
So let that be your comfort. That where you are right now, and as much as it's very uncomfortable, is right where you're supposed to be. And I remember just thinking, oh my goodness, this man doesn't understand the pain I'm in. And he looked at me and we were on a video call. And I started sobbing. He's like, I want you to look at me. I want you to understand where you are right now is so necessary. You have to be where you are right now. So, and I think when the Lord gave me the idea to write Good Pain,
Yeah.
it came from a scripture in Thessalonians that my mom used to teach us about all the time, and I had to experience it for myself. That speaks about trials and tribulations. And how they build perseverance.
Okay.
And perseverance has to finish a work. We are all currently walking this life on our way to finishing a work.
Yeah.
And it is a work that has nothing to do with us. But it is a work that has a lot to do with restructuring us so we can become
Sure.
that which he has ordained us
Yeah.
to be. I once preached a sermon a very long time ago. It's crazy that I used to preach.
And you're still gonna. It's not over.
I once preached a
It's
sermon.
only
a
the
very long
beginning.
time
You were
ago.
scratching the surface.
A very long time ago. I think I was 2021.
Yeah.
And it was around, we're approaching Easter, and speaking to young people that are asking themselves, why would God die for me?
Sure.
I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And what we don't understand, there's a version of us that is seated with him. That's the version he died for. He didn't die for the you now though you now has to struggle because you're working your way up to, there's a version of you that is seated with him, that is seated at the right hand of him. That's the version that he died for. That's the version that you are working towards becoming. We are all on a journey to pretty much finish a work. And I'm so excited because, when you feel more and more that you are becoming less of yourself. All the things that society tells you that when you realize that you're starting to become less of those things, and those things are starting to become less of what describes you, or less of what defines you, because now you're becoming that.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, but the journey to there is hell.
It's almost
But it's necessary.
It's almost as if you're getting to know yourself the way God has always known you.
Yep.
And we say it because it's one of my favorites, and I'm always going to make reference because there was great revelation there for me when God started speaking to me about how restored identity automatically awakens purpose. The base scripture for that was Jeremiah 1:5, where he said, before I formed you, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart to be a prophet. And there we really see, Uguti, before God formed you in your mom's womb, Sethu, he knew you.
He ordained you.
Like there is a knowledge. There is a knowledge that God has of you, or had of you before he even formed you in your mother's womb, right? And that for me speaks of this intimate knowledge that God has of me, that when he says, I'm restoring your identity, that's the identity he's restoring me to, who he's always known me to be. Yeah. And once I discover that identity, from that place, purpose will be awakened. Because purpose is very much intertwined with identity. And I always make the example of Jesus. Yeah. It's in the name, and we know that name in Hebrew is character, essence, nature. So Jesus being Savior, it's in the name. Like, his purpose is very much intertwined in his name, identity. When we see Emmanuel, God with us. His purpose was
in his name.
intertwined, is in his name.
Yeah.
And so I always say, I think I get a lot of DMs from ladies saying, hey, how do I get to know my purpose? I want to get to know my purpose. And I think getting that revelation from Holy Spirit has now allowed me to then encourage ladies to say, yes, we all want to walk in identity. We want to walk in purpose, powerfully so.
Yeah.
But I want you to take a moment to ask the Lord to show you who he's always known you to be, that you may be restored in identity. Because it's from that place when you get to know who you are.
It's true.
Do you get what I mean? Purpose
It's-
will
it's-
automatically awaken.
I think also the deeper you build a relationship with him, the more intimate you become with him.
Absolutely.
And the deeper you go into the word, that's what I always tell people. The word will tell you a lot about who you are. The word will tell you a lot about who you are. I think that the more now I've been spending time not in the wallowing, because I spent a lot of time with God wallowing. Spent a lot of time with God pleading my case.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with God just crying.
Yeah.
And now the more I spend time with the Lord just to get to know him, I'm starting to learn myself. Starting to get to know myself again, like you said, from his point of view.
Yeah.
The one that he knew before my parents even laid eyes on each other.
Sure.
There's that version of me.
There's that
he knew.
version. Yeah.
And that's the version of me that he died for. That version of me was worth him dying for. That means that version of me is worth unfolding,
It's
worth
worth,
unpacking.
worth going through the
Worth
process,
going through
the
the
hardship,
process,
the
yes.
messiness.
It's crazy because I was telling my friend, I was like, I would do it again.
Sure.
My friend was like, no way, friend. Mina nje angazi maybe ngizobe ngisejele.
Sure.
And
we need those friends in our lives.
well, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I probably would have been in jail. I'm like, no, you know what? No, it's crazy. I would do it again. The very same way that it happened.
And why would you do it
That
again?
whole process, because I feel that it gave me my daughter, number one. But also number two, it has shown me how big God is. I always knew God to be this big God, but you know when you're in a very deep pit and you literally see this man pulling you out and you're like, you are pulling me out. How are you doing that? It's like I never thought I could get out, and you see this big God showing you just how big he is. I remember somebody asked me how I am, and I said I'm being carried well.
Ooh.
And they didn't know, what do you mean?
Say that again.
I'm like, someone asked me, how are you? And I said to him, like, I'm being carried well, because I don't even know how I'm here.
Wait. Don't. It's okay to pause on that. You're being
Carried well. Because you look around you and you're like, I don't even know how I'm here. Awakened? I was like, I don't even know how I'm here. I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know.
We're getting there.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you realize I'm being carried, when you look around you and you're like, there's no way I'm standing on my own. There is somebody carrying me.
Sure.
And that has been the theme of my life, being carried. I've seen God carrying me, literally.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
with everything that you've been through, what have you learned about love?
I've learned that when I think what I've learned about love is that it is definitely, it's a gift, and you have to be gifted to not only give the love but also to receive it.
Sure.
And it needs so much of Christ. Like, it's such a Christ thing. And I think we've romanticized love and kiri rose, kiri enge. Love is such a Christ thing.
Yeah.
That's why when they say he is love, I'm learning now that it's so impossible to do love the right way without Christ.
Yeah, I can imagine. Tell me, the Sethu prior that day when you literally almost gave up.
Yeah.
And you almost say, God, I'm coming home. And I'm coming home with my daughter.
But I wasn't going to see him. She was going to go home.
Sure.
I had concluded that I'm not. So it made me mad.
Sure.
I was okay to not meeting my dad. That's what pissed
Sure.
me off. She was gonna go, of course, and meet him and go chill with him, and that was my gift to her, rather to say, go and chill up there. It's more peaceful because I've got nothing to give.
Much better than.
I remember feeling like I've got nothing to give her. I've got nothing to give her.
And as a mom, that's
Yep.
a hard place to find yourself in.
Yep. So for me, that was my gift to her, to say, I'm gonna go burn in hell, but my gift to you is you get to go and chill with the angels and sit with your father.
I'm going to ask the question I wanted to ask, but I want us to just chill on this one a bit, because I think I get a bit emotional because, like I said, when I was going through a very tough time,
Yeah.
I carried such a sense of guilt looking at my son. And I was like, you don't deserve this. And I think what made it hard was because I spent a lot of time around my sisters and their kids, and, seeing them happy, with their families being fine. And here it is, my son, he's around these kids and he's having a good time. I mean, but I would look at him and say, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve this. But I would be encouraged somewhat by Holy Spirit saying, I chose Micah. I chose you to mother Micah. I chose Mohale to father Micah, because I disqualified myself. Sitting here saying, we prayed for the son. Here he is. And I just feel like he does not deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think there are many women and men, who probably feel that way. And I, as someone who's probably, I can see the emotion in your eyes as well. I can see it. I can see it. And I think sometimes it would bring up that question, how am I going to raise this child? And the fear of, will this child have a colorful, beautiful, happy life?
Yeah.
Because if I'm feeling this way, I don't know how I'm going to afford or give my child that. And I want you to encourage someone who's probably tuned in, who was feeling exactly what you felt and what I felt, and who just feels like, I am unworthy to be a mom to this child. How would you encourage that or them?
The guilt, I want to ask, the guilt for you, did it come from, obviously at the point where there was obviously trouble in your marriage, did it come from a place of you feeling like you obviously, whatever decision you could have made in that point where you maybe decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to raise Micah on my own.
Yeah.
Is that what gave you the guilt?
I think the guilt for me came from a place of looking at my life and feeling like looking at my marriage and feeling like this is toxic.
Yeah.
I prayed for this. I've always desired to have a, good marriage, children brought up in a healthy household. And to see my life falling apart, I just felt like there's absolutely no way my son deserves this, So the guilt came from a place of looking at my marriage and looking at how things are and feeling as though my son does not deserve this. Also, I don't know. Yeah, I can maybe share about it. I have childhood traumas, right? And so there was abuse that I witnessed. There was abuse that I witnessed growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the guilt came from, where I went through what I went through and I saw and I know how much it broke me to a point where I'm having to deal and heal from those things that I saw as a child. Yeah. And to feel like I don't want this, I just don't want a toxic environment for my child. And now here it is, what I was trying to run away from.
I'm living it. Yeah.
I'm living to some extent. Yeah. I'm living it. And that, I think, brought a lot of guilt. Yeah.
I think with me, just any woman who finds themselves in a space where they need to ever decide what's best for their child, always look at it from a place of whatever you decide, the Lord has ordained you for whatever decision you're going to make. I think the guilt for me stemmed from I realized mid-pregnancy
Yeah.
that I can't bring a little human here.
Sure.
Then the little human came and sort of kind of tried to fix things. And she was a couple of weeks old, and I'm having a back and forth and an argument, and I'm struggling to sleep with a couple of weeks old baby sleeping on my chest. And I remember getting out of the room and sitting in the lounge, and I had to make a decision in that moment. This was after she was born, because now we're thinking we can work on things, we're gonna forget everything else. And it was a lot to forget, but I had gotten to such a selfless place because I wanted so much for my daughter that I was like, I'm going to forget everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And people looked at me like I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy.
Sure.
But I was doing it for my child.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting, and she's a couple of weeks old, asleep on my chest. It's a cold evening. I've got a blanket over her. I'm struggling to go back into the bedroom because I'm so livid. I had to leave. And it's a whole back and forth that's been happening for most of the day. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, I'm not going to raise you in these circumstances. But the guilt of not being able to give her a mom and a dad home, my goodness.
Sure.
It follows you around every day.
Sure.
It follows you around when you go to Papagino's. It follows you around, you're just getting stuff, it clicks. It follows you around, you're just at the park, and there's a dad just walking with their child. It follows you around. My brother and his wife have the most beautiful relationship. They've got a 1-year-old that they're raising together. I'm living in it. Like, I'm seeing it every day. How my daughter doesn't have that. But I want to tell whoever might be in a very similar situation, or even the same situation, or is thinking of walking out or thinking of staying, whatever you feel is best, know that you have been ordained for whatever decision you're going to make. There is levels of me that I didn't even know existed, but those levels and parts of me had to come out because I had to show up for this little girl. And though my decision was not the most ideal, and though any other woman would much rather raise their child with the father and mother situation, please, I would die for that. But you look at the circumstance and you realize you have to make a decision and trust that God has ordained you for that decision. It's hard though.
I can imagine. I'm going to ask a very controversial, but not so controversial, because we're quite honest and transparent here. What parts do you think what parts do you know that Sethu played a role in when it came to your divorce?
I think in the beginning I was very ignorant to certain things. And as time went, in my ignorance, you create a sense of this person is feeling like, oh, that means this is fine.
Okay.
That means this is fine. That means I can do this. Because you're acting ignorant to the fact that this is not a good thing.
Okay.
This is not what's supposed to be happening.
Okay.
So with that, then when you realize that, no, this is wrong, the person's like, oh, but we've been doing it.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
I also think a big fault of mine was I never consulted with God. Please. I was like,
Sure.
this is my soulmate.
Sure.
What do you mean?
Sure.
He's got a question.
Oh, okay.
He's got a question. I never consulted with God.
Sure.
Another question. Do you think the church has played a role in giving us an idea of a false idea of marriage?
Of course.
That a lot of people are getting into marriage with a false idea and not
course.
the reality
Of course.
What kind of role has that?
Because let me tell you something. When I got married, my brother had just gotten married, and 2 of my friends had just gotten married. And
What did you think marriage was before you got into it?
before I got into it, I thought, oh, it's roses, it's just nice, it's cute. You've got this best friend who understands you. You guys
You're
are just
always
gonna live-
happy.
You're always happy. You're just gonna make
Especially because
babies.
you're Christian.
Yeah, and we get each other. We're gonna pray. We're gonna make babies. I literally just thought marriage is just 2 people who are heavenly, crazily in love,
Yeah.
and they're like, let's do this thing. And you realize marriage is so much more than that.
Sure.
And I think because I didn't consult with God, I have a mom who is the greatest advocate for marriage. She counsels married couples and all of that, right? You're thinking, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this. And she's in my corner. She's praying for me. No, I'm
Yeah.
going to kill this thing. And then you're thinking, no, I'm going to submit to my husband. And you're thinking, no, submission is waking up and making breakfast. Like, do you want some coffee? And then you realize, no, you have to submit to this man's thoughts.
A
Like,
lady. Yeah.
I don't like the way he thinks.
Yeah.
You have to submit to this man's plans. I don't like his plans.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you learn in marriage. There's a lot of realness that comes out in marriage. And I'm glad in my case, the realness was very much not far. Like, it was I do, and then that night. Literally that
You
night.
had to face reality.
No,
Yeah.
but that night, the realness was like, what's up? And I was
Sure.
like, oh.
Sure.
And this is someone who was like, I can about next year, you're my wife.
Sure.
And I think it was also because he felt that, number one, it's an achievement.
Okay.
But also, number two, it was a thing of, he felt maybe because of me being in ministry that he has to do this. And it's going to make him look a certain way. I don't know. Okay. Next. And now that I've actually taken the time to realize what marriage really is, I'm also realizing that you have to allow God to do the work.
You have to consult and allow
And
God
you
to
have
do
to consult, because I lived in this bubble, man. I was just like,
Sure.
I wouldn't even say I was in love.
Sure.
I was so jolly. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm living in a movie. And
Sure.
then when the is over, and now you are Mrs. Mangmang, and the reality of Mr. is
Sure.
hitting you
Yeah.
head on. I think also another thing that I did, and I think it maybe stems from my childhood trauma, but I don't want to make an excuse for it, was that in my anger, so I tolerated a lot in the beginning. I was ignorant to a lot. I took a lot because I felt that's what you have to do. Then towards the end, I was like, no, actually, no, I lost it. I became the rudest, the rudest
resentment.
person. No,
Resentment.
for real.
Yeah.
For real. I became the rudest person to this man. This man got the worst
Out of you.
out of me. And I think that would be the one thing where I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have gone there. Because you get to a point where you will say anything and everything. You just want to hurt this person. It's like, I don't think you realize how much you've hurt me.
Sure.
And then when you actually sit back and you're like, no, but you allowed him to. You didn't set boundaries. You made this person feel it's okay to talk to you in this way. You made this person feel it's okay to do these types of things. You enabled this person. And then right in the end, you're like, hakasabat. And they're like, oh, what's on?
Sure. You made me get used to treating you this way. So what do you
Yeah,
mean
so
I
it
can't
can't
do
be
that?
you.
Yeah.
It can't be you. And also, in a situation where someone has been enabled throughout their lives. He's been enabled by his family. He's been enabled by his mom.
Okay.
And so I came in and I joined this congregation of women who are always rallying behind him, even when he's doing the most craziest things.
Got
like,
you.
we'll support you.
Yeah.
And I got to a point, I was like, no, but actually we're supporting nonsense here. No, this is nonsense. You're wrong, And then that's when...
Okay. Let's give our hearts a little bit of a break. You were our lead worshiper
Yeah.
at Awakened.
So fun.
And
Let's
you...
do it again.
Oof. What this lady did in that room. You really
Yes.
partnered so beautifully with Jesus in leading us in worship.
Yeah.
I mean, worship is not, it's no child's game.
It isn't a game.
And you led us so beautifully, yet so powerfully. How was that experience for you? So take me on this journey from when I first asked you
Yeah.
and the encounter that you saw in the room, but also the encounter you had personally as you
Yeah.
led us.
I think we spoke a bit on that.
We did.
That next week. So, first of all, this lady told me, she was like, girl, I do poopy. I'm not asking you.
Yeah.
The Lord, because I remember commenting, you had posted, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't miss this one. And you were like, no, the Lord told me you're not going to miss this one because you're going to be on it. And I'm like, this one, what?
I actually had a conversation with a few ladies and they suggested you. So me, I pray about everything because I'm just like, God, there's no way we are going to host people and we want them to encounter you, yet we're not consulting you. So I was like, okay, thank you. You know, you're one of the recommendations. So thank you to them.
Yeah.
But I also had to pray about it. And it didn't take long.
Yeah.
It did not take long for Holy Spirit to say, spot on.
Like, okay, I don't know what this one heard.
Sure.
But she playing. And then you were like very much persistent. I'm like, okay, she's not joking.
No.
And I remember telling my mom, like, Kabelo's not joking. No. And you were actually following through. You were like, by the way, this is what's happening and this is what's happening. Let me know how it works on your side. Let's talk logistics. And I'm like, batong oh.
We were set.
Why ansugela? Also remember, I had been in such a, Sarah Jakes calls it a state of self-preservation.
Preservation.
Literally hiding. Literally hiding.
Yeah. I know.
I was like, I'm just going to chill here.
Yeah.
Maybe even this ministry think it like, maybe I'll go back to school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm done. And so when you did that, I'm like, why is she trying to pull me out of my little hole? I like it here. It's peaceful here. Also, I had received so much from people that what we spoke about in the beginning. People that you have brought close to you, and then when they start seeing a flawed you, they then attack what you've been called to do. So then I felt, maybe I'm actually not called.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. There's no way God called me.
Yeah.
There's no way God called me.
Got you.
There's actually no way God called me. Because now you're sitting, you think, you're like, I actually did do that to that person. I actually did hurt that person.
So does Gabelo know what I've done? Does Gabelo know what I'm going through? Does Gabelo know the season I'm in?
Yeah. No, she can't do that. And I remember, I think it was your persistence. And you, I don't want to say this in a way that you didn't irritate my spirit.
Sure.
Because I had received a lot of invites where I feel like these people are poking.
Okay.
And you are poking at me. No, you need to come out now.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, you don't even get where I'm at.
Yeah.
And your spirit literally gets irritated to a point where you block people. You're like, I understand.
Yeah.
So you didn't irritate my spirit.
Okay.
And your persistence, I don't want to say it was a holy persistence, but I'm so glad you did that.
Sure.
Because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have made Awakening. And just how subtle you were in saying, this is what God said, girl, and and I'm like, and she sounds convinced. And the more I actually sat in it, I knew that you heard from God, because I knew I was supposed to come out of that. So you call me and I'm like, okay, I haven't done this in a long time. I don't even have a team anymore. I had gotten rid of people's numbers. I no longer have a team. I don't know what you do anymore. Like, what do we do now?
But you didn't give that off shame. Like, I can't even lie. You were quite professional.
I didn't even have management at the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, how does this work? What do we do? And I literally just went, God literally led me. We spoke, and I remember you came to like our rehearsal. We didn't even have rehearsal. Guys, can we tell you?
I kept you on your feet because I'm like, I'm going to show up at rehearsal.
Besides that, I feel like they had to have been a behind the scenes, because in the last minute, I'm having to organize rehearsal venues.
Then there's load shedding.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'm sure she's going to think I'm so unprofessional. But at the same time, God is just like, you know what, girl, roll with it. Like, and you weren't even weird about it as well. And I mean, we get there on that day. I think that day I realized when I saw the venue, I'm like, what Kabelo's doing here is big. And I remember, I think I told you that the day after or 2 days later, that what you're doing as far as the kingdom is concerned is a big thing. And for me, seeing the venue, I'm not even thinking about amount of people in chairs. I'm thinking about amount of souls that are about to encounter God. And I was like, this room is going to be filled with people who want to feel God.
Sure.
So I remember we were backstage. I did my makeup, and then we went backstage. Everything kind of happened fast after sound check because of time. And we were backstage and we prayed. And I remember saying to the team, let's just let God do it.
Yeah.
Because now we're worried about time. And I remember Lebo was doing the stage management, and Lebo was like also like kind of like the time. And
yeah, she kept everyone on their toes.
She's
yeah.
so cute.
Yeah.
And all I remember was right before getting on, literally, as I hit the stage, all I remember was feeling God.
Ooh.
When I tell you, I don't remember which note I hit in the beginning
Oof.
and which note I hit when I got off the stage, I would be lying. And you know what that was? That was what you were able to cultivate in a room filled with people who just wanted to encounter. There's something so beautiful when people gather and all they want is God.
It's God.
And all they want is God. And I really didn't need to do much.
No gimmicks,
promise
no
you.
pretending.
I promise
just
you,
got
I really
sharp.
didn't need to do much.
Oof.
It felt, like I say, if it wasn't for the footage and videos and pictures, I could never tell you what I got on the stage and did and what I did when you got off. And when you called me back, I think you there's a worship song that we had
Yes.
spoken that yes. I can't even tell you how I started and how that ended and when I got off the stage. And it was just like, it was God.
That was God. That just shows
It was
you.
God. Literally, my mom was like, no, so tell us what happened. I'm like, girl, I wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe I just should have been there. She hates it when I can't, because also when I go out and minister, I don't know how to tell you what happened. Because it's literally like, I'm not there.
No, mom has to be there this year. She has to
mom
come.
has to be there.
Yeah.
And it's like, literally, for the life of me, I could not even tell you, Uguti, I got there and I was like, no. Literally.
Yeah.
God just moved.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so, I can't wait for this year.
I'm excited for this year. We're excited to
Yeah.
see what God is going to do. But when I say this year is making me face my childhood traumas and having to deal with them, then you know, Guti, God is just calling us all higher. Like God is calling us to a new standard. And we need to rise. We really need to rise. So I'm also excited about this year.
Yeah.
I want to know from you what we can expect from Sethu this year.
I think this year you can expect a whole lot of coming out.
Yeah.
In the sense of I no longer want to operate from a place of hiding. I no longer want to operate from a place of not knowing who I am and what I've been called to do.
Yeah.
I think God has done a massive work getting me out of the space that I was in. Yeah. And it wouldn't be, what do they call it? What's the word? It would be an injustice to him if I just sat with everything that he's filling me up with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But being filled up, let me tell you something. It's like, sir, I'm trying to sleep. I'm trying to sleep. And he will wake you up, and I'm writing more music. I was telling
I love
Mohale,
that.
I'm writing more music. There's a lot as far as ministry is concerned. I've actually started on Good Pain.
Okay.
I just don't know when I'm going to finish. Guys, please don't be in my DM
That's
asking
okay.
for a book.
No, that's okay.
Hashtag Good Pain is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah,
Okay? But I'm also just trusting God more this year.
I love that.
I think on a personal level, I'm trusting God more.
Yeah.
I spend so much time just doubting him, and he has proven that I can trust him.
Sure. I love that.
And so I'm just trusting him.
Yeah.
There's a song by Siba that says, based on the evidence, you're still God.
Can you sing it for us?
How does it go? Siba, if I bought your song, girl, I'm sorry. There's that, the line is, based on the evidence, you're still God.
Sure.
And it just keeps on saying that.
Yeah.
And when you really look around, you're like, he's actually still God. There is evidence
and
all
there's
around.
evidence.
There is evidence all around that you're still God. There's a song that I wrote as well. We're not singing that one. I see you, girl.
It's fine.
There's a song that I wrote, but I think also that people might know it because a lot of people have been asking me, when are you going to release Better? And it basically, the lyrics of the song are, I want to love you better. I want to give you better.
Yeah.
I want to serve you better.
Yeah.
I want to do better and more. And there's a scripture where he speaks about more, that we will do more, greater.
Will the song be ready by September?
The song better be ready by I'm hoping so.
You know when I ask these questions, right? Like, thank you so much.
It's a
I
pleasure.
think I literally put my phone down, and that's where a lot of the questions that I had prepared, I had them right here. But the conversation flowed.
Oh, man. Thank you, Sissy.
I really, and I'm glad that your mom is here. I assume she's obviously your spiritual covering. So I say it in her presence that you need to rise up. And when I say that, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe being firm in saying that there are generations waiting for the manifestation of what God has placed in you. It's in you.
And now I want to go home.
It's in you. And you know what will make it more personal is when you think of your daughter.
Yeah.
She's a part of that generation.
Yep. Their souls
There's
tied.
no giving up. You know, the enemy will always, literally, the word tells us that the enemy comes to contradict or to fight the word of God. And God has released, there's a decreed word over your life. And the enemy will want to oppose and fight that word, but we're not going to allow him. And if it means that not personally in my own secret place, whenever God places you on my heart, I rise up and I pray for you.
I need that.
You've got your mom. You know, it's time for Sethu to come out of hiding. It's not just for you. I shared that scripture, you know, when a man is honored and does not know, he's like a beast in the field. You know now that God has given you great value. God has given you a gift, and he wants to partner with you, not just for your sake, but for ours and for generations after you. So I'm going to hold you accountable. May Sethu rise. Despite circumstances, may Sethu rise. May Sethu open up her mouth, and God will fill it. God will fill your mouth. You know, the enemy wins when your mouth is closed. I say that specifically for you. So may you open up your mouth. Don't worry about anything else. God will fill it. God will partner with you. He's chosen you for your race. He's chosen you, and he will partner with you powerfully so. I love you.
Girl, I love you. I'm looking at you like, I love
I'm
this girl.
so happy God has positioned you in my life.
Oh, man.
And as the beloved community, I really believe that we're so grateful that you've shared your heart with us. We honor that.
Guys.
We honor your heart. and yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm never coming to visit you.
No,
guys now, 'cause
you
guys
are
make
going to
me
come.
happy.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I pray that this moved you as much as it did me. And yeah, my husband says here, like, comment, subscribe, and let's really partner together and come alongside each other on this journey of building a life of love, wellness, abundance, and impact, one brick at a time. There's value in you. I hope you know that. And yeah, let's rise together. Love you guys so much. Bye.